here we are. Welcome to my weekly Wednesday Live. I am so excited to be here, and I don't know about you, but I am loving the countdown timer. It is so fun for me to actually be organized myself to be down here 5 minutes early and to run the countdown timer so that all of you get the notification that I'm live and can join me. And so welcome everyone. If you're new here, I am LaFollette, and I'm a surface pattern designer and a creative entrepreneur. And I come on my Facebook page every Wednesday to talk about art, creativity, and reinventing ourselves at pretty much any age. And it's so lovely to see all of you here today. I'm so excited. And if you're ending up watching the replay, you're very, very welcome here as well. I know that many people are back at work. In fact, my husband is back at his office. He doesn't have to go to his office every day, but he's in his office today. And so I know that that's the case for many of you as well. And so I hope that you are going to enjoy watching the replay. So today we're going to jump in again and talk about yet another way that we all can explore to get our artwork out into the world, to share the joy in what we create with others, and also to make it some income. And today's topic is all about commissions or doing commissioned work. And then also a little bit of an offshoot from that is actually freelancing. And so tell me in the comments, give me a yes in the comments if you have actually ever done some commissioned work or if you've ever done some freelancing. Now, I have two beautiful student examples to share with you today, and my wonderful Pauline Riley, who is my fantastic, above and beyond fantastic community manager, Pauline Riley, who lives in Wales. Her birthday's on Friday, so we all have to get ready to wish her a happy birthday on Friday. And she has done some commission work and some freelance work. And so she's gonna, I'm sure, give me a yes in the comments, and I'm gonna show some of her work, which is really beautiful. And then I have not yet seen Natalie's name pop up, but Natalie may be watching the replay. And Natalie is also someone who has done some commissioned work based on some art that she actually posted on social media. And so I'm looking at your comments to see whether or not some of you have actually done freelance work. And so Suzanne Brown says yes. And so Suzanne, tell me what type of either freelance or commission work that you did. And then let me just look to see if anybody else said yes. So Valerie Gregg, tell us more about it. She said yes with friends and family. And so I see your comment here also. I see your comment, Amy, that you're scared of commissioned work. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because I kind of get it. I totally get it. And I'm curious, now tell us just a little bit more about why that is, right? Is there a very specific thing about commissioned work that makes you a little bit anxious or gives you a little bit of anxiety? And because we can talk a little bit about it. But I always like to start with strategy first. And so why might you want to do commissioned work, and why might it be an advantage? What are the pros and cons around commissioned work, right? So one of the things that is great about, so actually this is great. So Janelle said she's done only commissioned long arm quilting, right? So you've basically done a big quilt using your fabulous long arm quilting machine for someone else, right? Who paid you for it either in advance or in parts for the work, and it was commissioned, meaning they probably had a lot to do with what it was going to look like, right? They were giving you a lot of input in terms of what they actually wanted you to produce. And so I think that great. So Suzanne said that she does commissioned work or freelance work, right? Probably we could use those kind of interchangeably in this example. Suzanne, do you agree that you do website design, logos, and catalogs, and that's done on a commission basis or a freelance basis, meaning that you're actually getting some kind of a design brief, or you're getting information from your customer about specifically what it is that they want. And And then Valerie said that photo restoration and portrait sketching. Yes, and so portrait sketching in particular falls beautifully into this category of freelancing or commissioned work, because many, many people will want you to do their portrait, and they will tell you, like, well, you know, you'll collaborate with them to decide, well, what scenery do we want to be in? Is it going to be you sitting down, standing up, inside, outside, right? All of those different components come into the conversation. But I think that I think that one of the other things too is, oh, hold on, we got to share Kathleen's big win. So Kathleen, thank you for sharing this with us. So Kathleen is saying that I have just been asked to partner with the farmers market to make picnic blankets with the fabric I designed and had printed with Sage Designers. I'm excited, but also a little intimidated. And listen, congratulations. This is absolutely fantastic. And listen, with any big win does come some level of either intimidation or anxiety, or because we all have those voices in the back of our heads, right? That tell us, oh my gosh, I just got this big job. Am I going to do it well? And of course you're going to do it well, because you're going to give it your all. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. And, but I can totally understand why it could be either a little intimidating, or it could make you feel a little anxious. And so Amy Brown said, or they will pay me because they agreed to, but not like it. Yes, and so this comes back into mindset, right, Amy? This comes back into mindset around, am I good enough? Is it gonna make them happy? You know what I mean? Are they going to? Is it gonna be a positive experience for both of us? And I think that we all have those voices in the back of our head, right? We do. We all have that sort of fear that the client won't like what I've produced, and that can seem intimidating. So Jean is saying the same thing. I hear you, right? My fear is the client won't like what I've produced, and it seems intimidating. Yeah, so I totally get it. And I think that I think that one of the things that we all need to consider is someone wouldn't be approaching you if they didn't love what you did, right? And so especially when you're getting into a commission situation where there's so much direct contact with the client, they probably already know you quite well, or you know them quite well, or you're starting down this path of getting to know them really, really well. And they're either members of your community now, like Kathleen is in Ohio, and she's creating this incredible partnership with the farmers market there. In sort of this crafting space. And so you're a part of the community. And listen, people, I think we need to remember that even though we live in crazy times, I think we need to remember that most people are coming from a place of, most people, I don't know if I can say that most people are coming from a place of love, but I think that most people are coming from a place of wanting to give people the benefit of the doubt, or wanting to see people succeed, that they're not looking to have something become a disaster, right? They want it to be a successful partnership or a positive relationship. And that if we can remember that, and we can remind ourselves that we are, of course, going to bring all of our talents and our joy and our questions and our openness to the feedback and our desire to, of course, over deliver, then we're always going to be in a good place, right? We're absolutely going to be in a good place. And so Barbara Scott said that she is looking forward to listening. Wonderful. It's great to see you here. Minimal, but some commission work. Lots of orders to reproduce my original service design on women's wearables. Yes, fantastic, right? Women's wearables, like women's apparel. That is absolutely fantastic. And then Jeanette said, I am also a bit gun shy of freelance because I tried to do a freelance job for a friend and she changed her mind and didn't communicate her vision to me. And after many hours of work, she paid me and took the project back unfinished. Yeah, so this is definitely one of the big tips that I have for you when you go down this path. So I'm so glad you brought this up, Jeanette, because this is exactly one of the biggest tips that we all need to consider when we're getting into a commissioned or a freelance situation. And that is communication, communication, communication. And ensuring that you actually have set up in advance how often you're going to be talking, how many times there's going to be a check-in or a touch base to ensure that you are continuing to go down the correct path to deliver what the client wants. But it's also on them to make sure that they you know, it's not your responsibility to deliver something if they completely change their mind, right? And of course, we're always going to do the very, very best we can to deliver, but that's why communication is so important, to see, okay, wait a minute, it seems like you've changed your mind. And so, and of course, I probably wouldn't put it that way. I would probably say, oh, it looks like we're going in a slightly different direction. This is incredibly exciting. It's a little bit different from what we've been talking about. So let's get on the phone, or let's get together for tea. Let's make sure we actually talk about what it is what we're going to do to move forward to ensure that we can actually make some progress on to finish the project. And so there are a lot of ways to try to address that, so that you also are not, one of the things I wanted to make sure, one of the things I did want to make sure that we also talked about was, how do you manage the number of iterations, right? How many iterations are you kind of willing to do, and is your client willing to do as well, so that it remains manageable, right? Because the project can't go on forever. And so part of the advantages of commissioned or freelance work is you can try to get them to be somewhat time bound, so that you know when you're going to be focused on them, you know what's going to be involved in getting it done. You have these touch points all on a fairly frequent basis, so that communication piece is so important. But then you also have some time limits around it. And one of the other critical things, in addition to communication, is how many changes are we going to allow each other to have? It's a little bit like an architectural project, where it's kind of like you don't want to have too many, what are they called? Change orders, right? You don't want to have too many change orders because they're expensive. And that's another component you can think about in your pricing strategy, is to say, here's what the price is going to be for this piece, and it will include how many times we're going to be communicating to ensure we're staying on track. It's also going to include how many times you're going to see kind of a rough draft or a semi-completed draft, and it will include the number of agreed upon changes. And then if we go beyond that, this is a really great thing to talk about. If we go beyond those changes, then there's going to be an additional charge for either redoing, or if the direction changes completely, this is what would happen. So you're sort of anticipating, of course, you don't want this to occur with every single job, but you want to anticipate what are some of the things that might happen. And it could very well happen that somebody gets sick, so they need a little bit more time. So you want to have a little bit of buffer built in. You also want to make sure that the communication is working properly, and that you're trying a couple different ways to be communicating to ensure that the flow of information is going back and forth really, really effectively. And then you're managing the total number of changes. So Ellie Boyd said, I do commissioned oil paints. That's her main business. I get a really good idea of what a client wants first. I run an agreement by them, get a 50% deposit before I begin any work, communicate often with clients as work progresses so that there are no surprises, and I usually get good results and happy endings, clients who cry with joy, which is fabulous, Ellie. And so thank you for sharing your ellieboydstudio.com. And that's a brilliant way to do it, right? That you definitely have a very specific design brief, right? You described that as a good idea of what the client wants, and I always like to actually have that in writing as a design brief. You want to make sure that you sit down and you hammer out the details around that. You get a deposit up front before you do any work, so that they're committed to you doing the project, and you're obviously committed to delivering it because you're going to get paid. And you follow up on the communication strategy that you outlined, so that there aren't any surprises. I love that. And so there you go. And so Ellie says that she said that if a client changes their mind or makes major changes or cancels, the deposit is non-refundable. And so that's another really great way to protect yourself around the monetary aspects of doing commission or freelance work. And And so Valerie says, I found it difficult to quote a job because clients throw in new ideas and unexpected time-consuming requests. Yes, exactly. And so Valerie, one of the great things to make sure that you are, and a lot of this comes from experience, but it also can come from reaching out and talking to other people who have done commission and freelance work, is like, how much of a buffer do I need to include in my price? So my work is good. It's actually going to cost a little bit more for people to work with me because I need to have a buffer so that if I fall into a situation where there's unexpected time-consuming work, I'm still covered in terms of what I'm kind of getting paid and what's fair for me to be getting paid. And I think it's really important for you to have that, right? I think it's super important to find out what, why some of those things are happening, but then more importantly, how do you incorporate that into your pricing structure so that you're covered and you can still do the work, but you still feel that you've been paid fairly. So Virginia Howard said, I was hired to do the design for a friend's daughter's wedding reception, other than the venue, and minimal instruction from the client. Fast forward, I nailed it. That is fantastic. So when you're doing something that's like super high stress, like a wedding reception, it really probably needs to be somebody who you already know really, really well. And they also know you really, really well. And so they totally know the type of thing, they kind of, their style, they know that you can deliver to that style. And as a result, that's a huge, huge win-win without a lot of hiccups. That's not always the case when you're doing something that is as high stress as a wedding event. So good for you. It's fantastic, fantastic. And Suzanne said you got to have a contract. You absolutely have to have a good time. And Valerie said, yep, it would be a good idea to have a written contract. You definitely want to have a written contract. And so Ellie said, yep, I state that in my contract. Some clients are not worth it. Exactly. Some clients are not worth it. And so you want to make sure that you've built in what the protections are for you, because then sometimes clients will what's the word I'm looking for? You guys probably know exactly what I mean. I'm trying to say they'll self-select, or they'll unselect themselves, right? They'll take themselves out of the running, or they'll decide, okay, actually, I'm not ready to do this work right now. And as a result, that's really, really important. And so Ellie says it's a one-page agreement, and I get the client's photos ahead so to see if I have enough information. Yeah, so if you're doing a portrait, for example, you need to make sure that you're seeing the type of photography that they're going to give you if you're not seeing them in person. And so that's another really, really great way for you to get ahead of the game. And so, Kathy, you can take any method of payment. People today are using PayPal a lot. They are using, I think it's pronounced Zelle, which all banks seem to have now, which is an automatic transfer of funds. And you have lots and lots of options. Keep it really, really simple. Ask them what is the easiest way for them to pay you, and then do it either through PayPal or through Zelle. If one of those options comes up, that's absolutely the best way to do it. And Kathleen Lambert said, these are such great things to keep in mind, but I'm getting a bit overwhelmed thinking about all of these things. Definitely need to bolster my confidence in myself and my work to be able to ask for a deposit or agreed upon pricing. Yes, and so first of all, Kathleen, congratulations again. This is so incredibly exciting, and you and I can definitely connect. You and I can connect offline if you'd like, because you're in my monthly membership. And so if you want to have a strategy conversation around how to talk about what a contract might look like for you, or what in fact your deposit might look like, we can brainstorm on that together. All right, and one of the other things that I wanted to do was that I wanted to, okay, so this is a good example. So Wendy Duke is bringing up another really, really good example around kind of things to watch out for when you're doing commissioned work. So she said, the worst commission I ever had was dealing with a committee where everyone wanted to add their ideas and no one would budge. I did what they wanted, but after I got paid, I never signed it and never photographed it. It was so ugly, right? And so sometimes you will produce work that the client wants and the client is actually quite happy, but you don't feel like it's representative of you at all. And at the end of the day, just so long as you actually got paid for the work that you did and they were happy, quickly as clients so that they will recommend you to others, then it's okay. It's totally fine for you to not feel like, okay, I'm not going to put that in my portfolio. That's not my favorite piece of work. But that's another really important component to be thinking about, is if you're taking on some freelance work or a commission project, you really need one person who's responsible for agreeing to what you're doing, and not, for example, if it's a portrait for, so for example, if I was trying to do a portrait for my dad, I would not want all my siblings to also have input into how we're doing the portrait of my dad. You guys know I have this wonderful, wonderful 92-year-old dad, and he and I are going to Hawaii. We leave on Friday, and he's still really healthy. He walks with a cane, but he's still very upright, and he's in amazing shape. And so my mom already had a portrait made of him, so it's not like I'm going to do this. However, it's a great example. If we wanted to do a portrait of him, I have 2 sisters and a brother, and it could become a committee in terms of deciding what it would look like. And that is definitely a situation that is kind of a red flag. And so thank you for sharing that example. I appreciate that, right? Let's see. Yeah, so commission work commission work and freelance work is really great. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I don't want to miss any of your guys' fabulous comments because I love it. Tommy's here, and Tommy broke her wrist. Tommy, how are you doing? I hope that you are on your road to recovery. She said, I have used a contract that gives the scope of the project, the process, and the deliverables. It also describes rounds of changes allowed before increase in costs. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Changes over and above are generally charged hourly. So that's a brilliant approach. That is a brilliant technique, and I so appreciate your sharing, you and Ellie sharing all of your incredible pro knowledge on how you actually do commissioned work today. And so let's see, what did I want to do? So I did not know, Wendy Duke, that you lived on the Big Island for 4 years. We are going to Kauai. So my dad has a timeshare in Kauai. He's gone to this timeshare every single year for the last 20 years, I think. Of course, he used to go with my mom until my mom passed away. And then he went with various family members in 2020, right before COVID shut the islands down. And so the only year he's missed was last year. And so I'm super excited that he's able to go again now. Okay, so then the other thing that I definitely wanted to talk about, and hello, Elizabeth, it's wonderful to see you here, popping over from my YouTube channel. It's great to see you, and I always love it when you pop up. So I wanted to give you guys 2 other examples, and also, of course, I always love to highlight some of my fabulous students. And so Pauline Riley, who's here in the comments, she's done some amazing commissioned work for her family. And I think so you've got some images, Pauline, on your website, right? And then also, don't forget, if you have not downloaded my ebook, I have a free ebook called How to Craft a Career in Surface Design. In fact, how to craft a career you love in surface design. And many of these student examples that I've been sharing over the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks are actually, there's more detail about them with links to their websites and to their Instagram pages and with examples of their work. And so the ebook is members.artwithann.com/ebook. And you grab it if you haven't gotten it already. I wanted to go to this image on my screen, which shows you how beautiful it is. So I learned also how to do this in so that you can see the beautiful cover. And then when I actually flip through the book, I talk just a little bit about surface design, and then I tell you in the table of contents 7 different categories, and we've been covering all of these 7 different categories, right? And so right now we're actually on commissions, which is the last one as we wrap up the whole series. And then as you continue in the ebook, you can see a really full and complete description of what these categories are, and then examples of my students who are actually pursuing these particular areas. And many of the students who are in here, including Kathleen Lambert, and including Pauline Riley, and including Natalie Portman, Natalie Coate, Natalie Rotman Coate. I just watched a movie with Natalie Portman last night, so it's not Natalie Portman, it's Natalie Rotman Coate. They're in here. And so let me come back up to this screen, and I am going to go to Pauline's website because I want you to see some wonderful examples. of what she has been able to do. Yeah, so first of all, I want to make sure that I didn't miss Jeanette's good news. Yeah, you guys have to share your wins. I love celebrating each and every one of you, no matter whether it's a big, a small, a gigantic, or a teeny little win. So Jeanette, thank you for putting this out here for us to share. I wanted to share my good news, if that's okay. I entered a DIY hero contest and made the top 15 cut, which is exciting. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. The top prize includes a magazine layout and sharing a DIY art project. If you'd like to see and vote for my work, I'd appreciate it. And so she gives you the URL to go vote for her. That's awesome. And it could lead to commissioned work as well. Absolutely, absolutely. And so for any of you who are also watching the replay, or if you guys come back to watch the replay again or need to find some of these links, just watch the replay and scroll down until you see the links that you wanted to that you want to take a look at and do that. All right, and so let me go to, so thank you, Pauline, for putting the link in it. It's members.artwithann.com/ebook. And I want to share my screen and just make sure that I actually have Pauline's website open in the background so that you can see how her beautiful website connects to her shops. And so Pauline's a great example, and Kathleen Lambert is a great example of this too, where they are pursuing surface design in a variety of different ways. And this is what's so important about it. It's so important that you don't necessarily put all your eggs in one basket. You can do commissioned work. You can sell on sites like Zazzle. You can also go to a craft fair and sell in person, or do a collaboration like Kathleen Lambert is doing, is embarking on right now. And so I think that is so amazing. And so this is, give me a thumbs up that you can, let's see, I haven't shared my screen yet, I guess. Hold on. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go to Pauline Riley's beautiful website. And what's great about Pauline's website is that over here on the right-hand side, she has a little bit about her. She's got her blog, she's got her shop, she's got a portfolio, she's got a course on Skillshare, she's also got her resource library, and then contact. And her contact information. And look how beautiful this is. When you scroll down, I don't know if you noticed, but these images moved. It was so pretty, Pauline, that you've got some really beautiful movement on your website. And she also has this beautiful free video about how to download Procreate. Sign up below, which is fantastic. And so she's got these adorable patterns that are for sale here. But then if you also come up to her portfolio, or actually it's probably in your shop, right, Pauline? She has just, there's amazing work in here. And I don't know if your adorable onesie that you did for Noah, for your nephew Noah, is actually in here or not, but that's one of the things that I wanted to make sure we talked about, was the fact that you are such a great example of not just doing commissioned work, right, where you did a onesie and you did a baby blanket, but you also sell through these online shops, and you also sell in person to people, right? You have some of your greeting cards and notebooks at the local post office. So if you've missed Pauline Riley's story, you have to go download the ebook, read more about it, because she continues to also find these incredible opportunities where in her local post office, she took some of her cards in to show to the post office master in her local community, which is in Harweden. Am I pronouncing that right? In Wales. And he said, I want them all. And he bought them all from her, and he's reselling them on the counter at the post office. They're beautiful greeting cards. So exactly. So you're covering. All of your. You're covering all of your options, right? You're sharing your joy and your beautiful artwork in multiple ways, in multiple very diverse ways, which is fantastic, and which is absolutely fantastic. And yes, and so we put the link to my ebook in the comments, and I will take you also to, I'll actually put it in. Well, Pauline's put it in. So Deborah, just make sure that you're scrolling up and down in the comments when you're watching, because you should be able to scroll up and down and see it, and it should actually be clickable. So keep us posted, because it's basically members.artwithann.com. and there's an E at the end of Ann, members.artwithann.com/ebook. And absolutely, you want to make sure that you can download it. And then Jean said, the beauty of what you have presented in the series is that creatives are not limited in their choices for their art to go in one or multiple directions. The opportunities and ideas are abundant, the rewards are great, and we are only limited by our own fear to try them. Yes, and Jean, that's a big part of it, right? A big part of it is just feeling like you're not ready. Right? Or feeling like, oh, if I'm comparing myself to everybody else and I'm not as good as everybody else. And you guys know I have these mindset sort of mantras, and there are 7 or 8 of these mindset it's the mindset coaching that you get when you join my programs around, fear, and around the comparison trap, and around the sense that you're behind, or the sense that you're too old and your ship has sailed and you don't have enough time left in your life to do what you really want to do, which is not true. There's plenty of time, and we need to take advantage of that time right now, right now. And also just how important it is to surround yourself with a supportive community that wants to cheer you on, and it will cheer you on, and gets joy from helping each other up, that we're all helping each other up. We're all helping each other move forward, work through all of these mindset issues, all these voices that we all have in the back of our head, and continue to support each other in moving forward and getting our artwork out into the world, which is so important today. So important today. All right, so I think that I pretty much covered everything. I wanted to, wow, that's a weird looking URL there, Pauline. It's very strange. So Jean, great question. So one of the other things that I haven't really covered, and it's already half an hour, so I'm going to let you guys go in just a minute. But the other part of the blog post today was about freelance organizations like Fiverr. And so you need to actually go to their about page to find out what their terms and conditions are, and because I actually don't know, they're all different. And so frequently when you join an organization like a Fiverr, they want you to be very successful, and so they help actually provide you with this forum where you can get you can bid for jobs, but I don't know what their terms and conditions are, and so I don't want to make it up, right? All right. Got it, thanks. So Deborah got it, thanks. That's wonderful. And it's never too late to create, right, Jeanette? It's absolutely true. It is absolutely not. It is never too late. It's never too late. So let me take a quick look at my actual, at the blog that I wrote this week, because I just wanted to make sure that there weren't any other big headlines I wanted to share with you. Yes, so just to recap the pros of doing commissioned and or freelance work. So it's one-of-a-kind work, right? And so here's another hot tip for you, or pro tip for you. Because it's one-of-a-kind work, you should be charging more for it. These are one-off. This is a one-off, one-of-a-kind, super unique thing that you're creating, right? So that's sort of issue number one. Then issue number two is when you're doing it for friends and family and or people that you don't know that well, you still need to be organized. You still need to make sure you kind of have a one-page agreement. You still need to ensure that you're getting some money up front. You still need to ensure that you've talked through how you're going to be communicating together throughout the project and approximately how long you think the project will take, with maybe even a pretty hard end date. And you need to make sure that you've talked through and considered and have on that piece of paper how many times you're going to iterate, so that you don't get into this situation where you just go on and on and on and on and on with revisions. And then finally, the exploring freelance organizations is a great way to build your skills. So we didn't really talk that much about becoming a freelancer on a more serious basis, but one of the great things about being a freelancer on like a freelance site like Fiverr is you're going to have to take jobs from, or you're going to hopefully get jobs. You're going to compete with other people for jobs, and then you're going to get very good at delivering to a design brief and to what someone else has very specifically specified they want from you. And you'll get tons of experience, and some of those projects you'll want to have in your portfolio. Some of them, like Wendy mentioned, you might not want to put in your portfolio because they don't really represent what you want to do as an artist, but it's a great way to get a lot of experience under your belt and to get very, very quick and facile with understanding what it is that people want and how to deliver to that on a time frame. All right? So I am super excited to have seen you all here today. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everyone. And I will be here next Wednesday. I'll have a different backdrop. I'll be in Hawaii on the beautiful island of Kauai. And two people in my universe are in Hawaii, but neither of them are on the island of Kauai. One's on Kona and one is on the Big Island. And one's on Maui. Actually, there are three of them, and one's on Maui. So I'm going to be coming to you next Wednesday because I'm here come rain or shine, unless I'm actually on an airplane. And so I'll be here at noon next Wednesday, and I'll be broadcasting from somewhere in Hawaii where I have internet connection, and I cannot wait to see you then. All right? I always like to say in closing that I am Anne LaFollette, and it's never too late to create. Bye for now, and I'll see you next week.